What's up, everybody? My name is Jarrett Finley. I am a third year student at Ohio State. I'm studying communications right now, but that's definitely not my passion. Passion is definitely in the bodybuilding and fitness industry. It's what I'm hoping to pursue after school. I've been lifting since January of 2019. Seriously, I mean, as a kid, my buddies and I would go train and stuff like that. But I was always pretty small. I was always a smaller kid of the group, so it never really meant a difference. We kind of just did it for fun, for sports. I played like baseball, football, basketball growing up until like eighth grade, and then middle school I didn't play basketball, but played football and baseball up until high school, and then I actually gave that up and picked up golf, and I golfed all 4 years of high school. So definitely stayed on the scrawny side during high school, but after high school, I kind of got into lifting and haven't looked back since.
Nice. So I guess you're from Ohio originally?
Yep,
Yeah.
Mansfield, Ohio, small town like an hour north of Columbus.
You kind of mentioned you got into lifting weights. Was that initially like an experience that you ever saw yourself? Was it enjoyable? Was it just for the kind of the social aspect? Like did in any way you see it kind of playing out the way that it played out with it being such a passion?
Definitely not. My buddy Avery Fisher got me into the gym, and he was a baseball player in high school. He actually came here to play at Ohio State, and now he's at Wright State. But him and I started going after school down to like the little like school gym when no one was in there, and we really just hit like upper arms and like triceps and stuff. We definitely skipped legs for sure, but we would just goof around and like do some lat pull downs. We really just went in there for just for fun. Never really thought about it too much. And then I saw like a decent amount of progress in a short amount of time doing that. And I was already kind of familiar with like lifting. I wasn't like brand new at it. So there was definitely like a comfort level in being in the gym. I mean, I was still smaller than I was. And I know it's like a lot of people's reason to not go to the gym is because they're nervous. And like that's granted, I mean, you'll have that for sure. Yeah, I mean, he got me in. We started doing upper body only, and then people started commenting like, "Oh, are you starting to lift and stuff?" Because my tricep got bigger, and I was still really small. I mean, I graduated at like a buck 50, maybe 155 pounds. So I was definitely on the tinier side, but yeah, I mean, I liked it. Got into powerlifting with a few buddies of mine. Went from the school gym to the local gym, Fleets Fitness Center. Love that place. Every time I go home, I definitely get a lift in. But yeah, that's where I really found my passion. To my roommates from Cincinnati, when I first went to Cincinnati for school, they introduced me to powerlifting. So that's where it all started.
Gotcha. So you went to University of Cincinnati for a while?
Yeah, I did that for a year. And then I was pursuing a industrial design degree, and I didn't get into their program because it was like 6% acceptance rate. It was like insane. So there's like a bunch of like crap that happened where basically they told me, because that's right when COVID hit. So it was March of 2020 ish, I think. So yeah, that was right when COVID hit. They sent us all home from school. It was kind of just a BS way to finish out my freshman year. And then I applied for the major again because you could only apply in the fall. And they said, you're not in, but you're not out. And I was like, what does this mean? And they're like, we don't know how many kids are coming back. So basically, that's how we'll judge if you're in or not. And I ended up transferring to Ohio State, got accepted into their industrial design, and moved here. And then Cincinnati called me this Saturday before I started here and told me I got in.
Nice.
So I just stayed here. I was like, I'm not coming back.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here just for a second. Let me tell you about Smoking Gun Coffee. They're a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to produce a quality coffee at an affordable price. They only buy coffee from small coffee farmers around the world with a cup score of at least 85. Each batch is roasted to order for maximum freshness. They also donate a large portion of their proceeds to organizations that help local communities, veterans, first responders, or you can donate to the foundation of your choice at the checkout by going to www.smokingguncoffee.com. That's SMOKIN Gun Coffee.
I went to Northern Kentucky and I graduated in 2018, but obviously being right there at basically in Cincinnati, a lot of people that, went there from Cincinnati, from Ohio, and it was always like a big thing for people to do, like on certain weekends to go up to Columbus, have those parties and, all that stuff. I've heard it's pretty great, gets pretty wild up there.
Oh, it definitely does, for sure. I'm not a big partier myself. I definitely partied like the most my freshman year, which is crazy because like it was the youngest, but I wasn't so passionate about like this like bodybuilding and stuff. So I kind of just didn't care as much. But definitely not a big partier personally.
Yeah, same here. And it's interesting though, because like when you say that, like you're not a big partier, I'm definitely not a big partier, and that was kind of a weird place for me to be, in college, not somebody who did too much of that stuff. And I was kind of looking myself for something like to get into, what's my thing gonna be? What's my next adventure? What's my, I'm away from home. What am I gonna do with myself? Basically, I got so much time on my hands, and that was when I really started to pick up weightlifting, going to the gym, and really embrace that community, embrace that. I guess lifestyle in so many different ways, just really enjoying going there and waking up, going to the gym, eventually got a gym partner. And that was just such a fun part of my life. Looking back, it's something that I wish I would have appreciated more, but just slowed down more. And, just been like, this is a cool time. I am in college. There's so much kind of stress sometimes when it comes to tests and assignments and papers and class. And you have all these things going on. I think sometimes you want to get done with it. You want to just kind of skip through it, get to something else. But it really was a fun time, just starting going to the gym. But college was definitely that time frame where I got in more into the lifting weight side of things. And like you said too, it didn't take too long. People did start to notice, like, hey, you're looking like you've started lifting, and that's definitely such a confidence booster.
Oh,
And
100%.
yeah, just going into the gym before any of that happens. And like I remember the first time, um, I kind of knew some stuff, but I was definitely new to it. And this guy came up to him and was like telling me, give me a few tips, give me a few pointers. Say, if you want this kind of hypertrophy, then do this more. If you want to, build strength, do this more. And I was like, that's really cool. Did you have that similar kind of experience when you first got into the gym, to where, it was a very supportive kind of community?
Yeah. So Fleets has like been a huge part of my life. That gym is definitely where I found my passion and started pursuing it heavily. In the environment there, a lot of people don't like it because you go in, it's like kind of dingy. Like you go into the locker room and like it kind of smells and you're just like, this place is kind of shitty, but like that's what it looks like on the outside. And when I go in there, like my headspace, like I get like motivated. And there's definitely like a lot of people that intimidated me at first. But I've asked a lot of questions over the 3.5 years that I've been lifting. And I feel like that's a big part of why I know what I know now. And there's going to be like big people in there that like have their headphones on and like are just like grunting and stuff. And you're just like, what is going on? But if you go up to them and you ask a question, they're more than likely just a big teddy bear. Like they just will fill you in all the stuff. Like they want to help you. And that's how I've created a lot of friends in the gym for sure.
Yeah. Seems like the same thing's true. Every gym that I've been to, there's always that one person who is very, like welcoming, very like they'll come over to you, especially if you're newer, they'll say what's up every time they see you. Like it's such a cool kind of environment. I'm definitely not that kind of person, personality wise, but I really do appreciate, that kind of person doing that.
Yeah. Especially like a lot of people start at Planet Fitness, which is totally fine. Like that's definitely a more welcoming place than some dingy like steroids dudes walking around with like all metal plates and stuff like that. And you have some big, strong people in that gym that are moving a lot of weight. But for people to, I actually just met a guy, Mike. It was like a month into lifting, and he's going to the gym that I go to now, Pros Gym here in Columbus. And he was like, I'm just going to follow what you do. And like, I mean, I'm pretty regimented at this point. I'm getting ready for a show. So for him to follow me around was like kind of strenuous on him, but I just try to help him as much as possible and be like, even though I had little time on my hands to really like dive in and help him, every time I see him, I make sure like I give him a nod or a wave or so like, how you doing? What are you hitting today? Stuff like that, just to make sure that he feels welcome. Because sometimes like if you don't start at a small gym like Planet Fitness or something, people are way too intimidated to come back.
So getting into the bodybuilding side of things, how did you actually get into that?
Like I said, I kind of started out powerlifting, and I did that for my whole freshman year of Cincinnati, like at Cincinnati. And I transferred here and did powerlifting for one semester on the powerlifting team. I never really did, like, I never even powerlifted in an event. I just did the lifts, and I wish I would have at least done an event. I mean, I might say like, screw it and just do it for fun one day. Then I kind of started leaning off of powerlifting and got into power building. And that's where I really started to fall in love with lifting a lot more, because I could still lift heavy, but I was doing more reps. I was getting like bigger pumps instead of just doing like bench, deadlift, squats, stuff like that. I was doing more accessories. And then that's where I saw most of my progress was power building. And then I got into bodybuilding quite recently, honestly. This will be my first show. It's the first time I've had a coach. It's the first time being this like serious about it, eating the same thing every day. And like, it's tough for sure. Like I miss so many little foods that I wish I could have, but I don't know, it just makes you stronger for sure.
Going from like powerlifting, which is kind of more like you said, of the sets and reps are different, and then the nutrition side too is just like completely different.
Oh, yes.
You said you missed a lot of little food, like certain foods, but how challenging was that at the beginning, or were you just like dialed in and just ready to challenge yourself?
Honestly, before I started like with Cam, my diet was terrible. Like looking back at it, I'm like, how am I even like functioning? Like I was drinking like half gallons of chocolate milk a day. Like I loved dairy. I would be eating ice cream, yogurt. I would have cheese, like so much carbs. And like my fat intake was insane. I was taking in, we calculated it, and I was taking in like over 150 grams of fats a day. And I'm like, wow, like I don't even think about it because I've always had a high metabolism. I've always struggled with gaining weight. And since I've gained like, I mean, 40, 45 pounds since I graduated. And I kind of always stuck with that mentality of like a lean bulk for over these 3 years. I've never fully bulked to where I've like lost my physique by any means. And I've never cut until now. So this is all kind of new to me with the bulking and stuff, and definitely wasn't a clean bulk for the 3 years that I've been lifting. That's for sure.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
Kind of explain a little bit though how that changed. How did that change your mindset on when you started to actually change your diet? How did that change your training as well?
It definitely made me more disciplined because it actually kind of made it easier too. Like life became pretty simple just for the time being, because I knew what I was going to eat every day and I knew when I should eat it. So I knew exactly what to make, how much to make of it. And I would make it like in big, like bulk sessions and then portion it all out. So I'd have a couple of days worth, and that made it super simple. So then that kind of took away time of like, I'm not the best cook by any means. Sorry, ladies. No. Yeah, I don't cook like very good meals. So for me to know exactly what to make was just so simple. And at first, it definitely helped in the gym because I was fueling myself with like, I think like 3,500-ish calories. And now I kind of moved away from that, and I'm down to like 2,300. So it's definitely a struggle now. I can see it mentally too. I just have like a lot on my plate right now with school, work, and everything. So it's definitely becoming pretty stressful.
Definitely. Have you had any, not necessarily in the last couple of weeks, but have you ever had any about bodybuilding, like second thoughts? Like, is this really the path I want to take? This might not, I just thought it was going to be this way and it turned out to be a little bit different. Was there ever any of that for you?
Yeah, like every day. No. Um, yeah, definitely. I was just talking to my buddy Kurt yesterday, and I've had problems where I've always wanted to like have a cheat meal or something, or like cut a corner, or just do something like that I shouldn't, and I know I shouldn't. And I haven't really done that really at all. There's like a few minute little details that maybe I put too much like portions in this because I was like super hungry one day, or I ate like another handful of almonds or something. But I haven't had any like cheat meals really. I haven't eaten anything off my diet. But that's also been a struggle because it gets very monotonous eating the same thing every day. So I kind of try to switch it up, but it's only going to get worse from here. I mean, right now I look forward to my English muffin at the end of the night with honey and sea salt, and I sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on it, and that's like a dessert to me. So if that tells you anything, my diet's pretty bland right now.
That's definitely, a lot of people would say it's taking it to extremes, which, certainly it is. You have to do that to reach certain goals. But have you thought about like what comes next? Like, are you lined up to do several shows after this one?
I've been thinking about reversing out. There's a show in October up in Cleveland, which is like 2 hours away from me now. But I want my parents to be able to see me compete, and my grandparents. Both my grandmas are still alive, but my granddads aren't. But they love like seeing me compete. They loved watching me in sports and stuff. So I would like to have them at least experience it one time. So I'm thinking about reversing out and doing another show in October. But like I said, it's a lot of mental stuff. So
Yeah.
it's definitely hard for sure. I've always second guessed like even doing this competition, but I already signed up. So I'm like, there's really no going back now. Might as well put all my effort into it now and suffer,
Yeah.
and then maybe see what the reward comes later.
Yeah. And I think it's cool because the having that goal, it really does help push you, keep you going. If you didn't have this goal of competing, you might, and I'm not saying in your specific situation, but like somebody might fall out of the routine and then all of a sudden they're not lifting for a couple weeks or not eating right for a couple weeks. But I think having a goal and having some type of like date to hit something, it just keeps you motivated, keeps you pushing harder and staying on track. And I had the same kind of experience with a marathon where I was like, I want to do this and I'm signing up. And of course, like, in anything, you're going to find times when you don't want to run or you don't want to lift or you don't want to eat this meal. But just having that kind of date to where you have to perform, I think that's another big aspect. Like, if you get up on that stage, people are going to be looking at you, the judges obviously, but you're going to be on social media, you're going to be in everybody's, view of like, this is who this person is, and they can tell the work you've done, and that kind of adds another kind of level of pressure to help you stay on track.
Yeah, and honestly, like I didn't really think about it like that until now, which is kind of like motivating because this is like, although it's not a national qualifying show or anything or an NPC show, it's still a big show, and there's going to be a lot of people in attendance. And I feel like, yeah, that's nerve wracking, but also I might as well put my best foot forward and show them what I really can do, because this is the stage to do it on and the event to do it at. So yeah, that's definitely something to think about. I appreciate you saying that.
You've been talking kind of about how it is challenging, but specifically, like what are those challenges? Like, what's maybe that most challenging thing for you? Is it the diet side? Is it the mental? Is there like mental things? Is it just a schedule of, like you said, a lot of stuff on your plate? What is it specifically that's, been very challenging?
Honestly, I feel like it would be a lot less stressful if I wasn't working or taking two classes this summer. I feel like I could definitely knock it out easy peasy mentally if I had just a little less to deal with. So like because I work, I was working a landscape job, which definitely don't go that route if you are wanting to do anything physical, because you're doing physical labor all day in the sun, and then you want to go do physical labor for another 2 hours, and like that just wrecks your body. That kind of like was on top of me having to prep all my meals for the night before, and then having to do homework on the side, but then having to lift. And I do social media right now as it is. So that's another thing, is like just trying to capture content that people want to see is just another like added level of stress, just because I feel like I'm being held to like an expectation, which I shouldn't, like I started this profile for me and to document like myself. So I shouldn't be doing it for anybody else but myself. But then again, there's just two sides to that perspective, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot to, you know, it's a lot when it comes to like managing your own expectations in a lot of ways, especially being young into the sport. I'm sure, especially with social media, you see a lot of people who are achieving a lot of different things. Their physique looks like this, um, comparisons, things that can get in your head. Has that been a challenge with social media for you? Just kind of like saying to yourself, "Hey, I'm new in this. This is where I should be. I am where I am right now."
It's definitely been a struggle. Social media can be a really good outlet to find support, but it can also be a really bad outlet to find doubt in yourself, because you're constantly comparing yourself to people who are putting their best self online. Like that's what a lot of people don't understand about social media. Like when I post a picture, it's usually the best one that I've taken on that day. It's not my worst one. It's not like I'm going through and finding the best one to post for that day. And I feel like that's a really hard aspect to wrap our head around, because we're always scrolling through, seeing so and so on the beach, or this person's on a cruise, or this person's traveling to Hawaii and it's like tropical, and everybody's like spending a bunch of money that I don't have, or like driving nice cars that I can't afford or something. Like there's so many things that you can compare yourself to. And I've definitely found myself doing that. And I don't know. I just need like there was a time where I needed like definitely a mental break from social media, because it gets to be a lot for sure.
And I would, assume especially like during prep and in prep, it's like, you have access to all this stuff and your brain is kind of like not the same. You're eating less calories, you're working out more. So you're kind of in this different mental state in a lot of ways. And then you add on all these different elements, these stressors obviously you have that already exist. And then adding on those other two of the diet and exercise. I can only imagine, how that would affect everything else in your life. Have you noticed that it kind of does affect uh your not necessarily like in a drastic way, but like your relationships, it affects your job, it affects your school?
Yeah, I told my roommates the other day that I'm probably going to get like pretty mean. And I just wanted to let them know that beforehand, because I've been warned about like prep brain and stuff like that. And I've been warned about that stuff. And I just don't want it to like get in the way of like my relationships, especially with like my family and stuff, because they're big supporters, but they don't understand really like bodybuilding, because they are like, oh, you look good like the way you are. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like I look all right, but that's not what I need to be to do good in this sport, or that's not where I need to be to compete in this competition. So it's kind of just a bunch of layers
Yeah,
to it. And
sure.
definitely the dieting doesn't help. That's for sure. I can already see it in my school. I mean, I wouldn't say like spectacular student, but I have a very high GPA, and this Spanish is kicking my butt. I've never failed a test, and I failed it way harder than any test I have ever taken.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a lot. And learning a second language is hard enough in and of itself, but to have a very limited time to do so, Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. And have you thought about kind of in more of like a fun or like in a excited way, like what it's gonna be like, what your emotions are gonna be, kind of after the show, after you get this upcoming show done, like, is there, have you had any dreams of like eating a cheeseburger, like doing whatever you're gonna do?
Yeah, actually, I texted Cam the other day because I had a like nightmare. Like it was literally like freaked me out because I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, like I shouldn't have eaten that. And it was a tub of mint chocolate chip ice cream. It was like a little pint, and I was like halfway through it in my dream, and I was like, dude, I'm cheating way too hard on this right now. And I woke up and texted that to him, and he started dying laughing. And I was like, dude, it's not funny. Like I'm missing all these foods right now. And I just can't wait to have like, I don't know, just like a nice 5-star meal after this. Like I'm just looking forward to, I mean, but I can't let myself go too much because that's where it gets a little hazy. Is like you work so hard right now to get where you're at. So you can't just throw it all away for a week of eating like crap.
It's so funny though how our brains operate like that. It's almost like living out our, is it trying to live out our cravings in this way to where we are denying ourselves so much in real life that it's just it's something, it's like our brain during sleep. It's like, okay, this is something to get you through to the craving that you want. And then it feels so, almost wrong and weird that that you're doing it. And even though it's just a dream, it's such a weird thing that we do.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like I've kind of found comfort in, it sounds weird, but like cooking shows and stuff like that. Like I like watching other people enjoy food.
It's interesting.
Or like I was on FaceTime with my buddy Kurt the other day, and he had me pick out like a candy bar for him. So like it was just something that I wanted that I can't have. So like I'll let him enjoy it and like have him tell me how it is.
That's
Cause
cool.
I mean I'll get there in a couple weeks, but until then it's gonna be hell.
And have you picked out anything specifically that you're gonna do?
I've been craving donuts like crazy. Krispy Kreme donut. I don't know why. It's probably because every time I go to the store, I walk past like a whole stack of donuts, and I'm telling you, they have eyes. Like they look at me, like they know I want them. And I've been craving donuts so bad. It's insane. Just one.
Have you seen that discipline or any other characteristic that you've kind of developed during this journey play over into any other aspect of your life?
I feel like it will. I feel like I haven't been able to really see it yet, just because it's kind of been like my life's been pretty monotonous, like over and over and over the same thing, like every day, like either training or doing posing or like the same things over and over. So I feel like once I get out of that whole regimen, I feel like I think I'll still eat very clean because I mean, I like how I look now, even though it's pretty tough to stay like this. But I feel like by far I've learned a lot more about my diet and what to be cautious of and look out for when I'm shopping in the store. And that sounds kind of like just a little thing, but it definitely plays a part. Food makes a lot of people happy, and a lot of people turn towards food for comfort. But if they can find a better alternative or something a little more healthy for themselves and they end up enjoying it, that can be a huge factor in losing weight or just changing their mindset when they look at themselves in the mirror and know that they're doing something a little more healthy than usual.
Yeah, for sure. It's a it's a lifestyle that definitely teaches you a lot about how to be healthy. There's obviously certain aspects of it that maybe, like during a prep or, it's not necessarily for the health aspect, but it really does offer you a look into a healthier way of living, thinking about what you're eating. And, not that everybody has to be eating the way a bodybuilder does, but just learning more about food and the macronutrients and the micronutrients and learning how to work out and learning the importance of cardio and learning the importance of lifting weights. Like, you know, unfortunately we don't get that kind of education these days, and pretty much any, in school, from our parents, from a lot of different things. We aren't being taught how to be a healthy person, which is so bizarre. It should be like the fundamental thing of what we're learning is just how to be healthy, because obviously if you're a healthy person, that translates so much into being a better student, being a better employee, or a better business owner, being a better, wife or husband or whatever. It's just, it seems like it would make the world go around a little bit smoother.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. That's a really good point to make, because obviously, I mean, I honestly, when I walk down the street and I see people that are eating like very unhealthy things or getting takeout or like fast food or something, I'm almost like, I feel sad in a way, because I know what that's doing to them and I know like how bad it is. But then again, like people live different lives, and like it's crazy to think that like bodybuilding and fitness and stuff is a very tiny niche when it comes to like the amount of people in the world.
Yeah.
And it's just so crazy to me, because like that's like all I think about and stuff now. So like to see other people like that go home after work and don't go like to the gym or something, it like blows my mind. And I'm like, what do you do? Like, what do you do when you go home? You have so much time on your hands.
A lot of people, there's not an appreciation on how it affects our society, because, I truly believe that, the mental health issues of our country and of our, Western world, and however far beyond, I think a lot of it does come down to our physical health and the way that we've been eating, the way that we've been very physically inactive, moving jobs more to, tech jobs where we're sitting in an office all day, and things like that. Like, I don't think that should be passed over when we think about, you know, not to bring up, the really sad news, but the school shootings and the whatever else, the suicide rates and all these different things. Look at how in the last 20, 30 years, the obesity rates have gone up. The diabetes in children rates have gone up. Like, these have to somehow be tied together, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it's sad because as a kid, I always grew up and my mom was always like, you have to get your vegetable, like your protein, like drink your milk so your bones get strong and stuff like that. And I feel like I feel sad for the kids who grow up and aren't taught those things at a young age, because it's very easy to follow in your parents' footsteps. And if your parents are overweight, you're very likely to be overweight. And I mean, that's a self-esteem thing too. As a kid, like you look at like when you go to the swimming pool or something, like there'll be a kid with their shirt on in the pool. It's just like they should be a kid. Like they should not care about stuff like that. But for them to have to care about it because maybe at home they were never taught that they need a vegetable, and like they need to cut down on eating like a couple bags of fruit snacks a night, like limits. Everything's good in moderation. Like you can live a very healthy lifestyle. You can still drink alcohol. You can still do a lot of things, but in moderation. Don't go binge eating, and don't eat like I used to eat. I used to eat like a pint of ice cream, like no problem. And I was like, oh, like it's no worries. I'll burn it off and stuff. And to like think back at that, it's like just crazy to think that way, because that's so unhealthy. And I mean, I can easily eat like a couple bites, and like anything to just get rid of my sweet tooth should be fine now.
Right.
So I just feel like we need more education, definitely in school. Like there's health class that you have to make or take or whatever, and they maybe gloss over nutrition. But yeah, definitely we need to implement even healthier like school foods. I mean,
Yeah.
like French toast sticks, don't get me wrong, they were fire. Like the pizza was like kind of cardboardish, but I mean, it still was good. But no, we need to have like, I don't know, maybe a salad bar or something to get some sort of nutrition into our kids at an early age, and teach them that it's good and it's fun. It's really fun to be healthy.
it's a crazy world we live in. And like you said, bodybuilding and fitness, even though it's such a big part of my life, your life, people who listen to this podcast life, it really is such a very small niche of people out there. And hopefully that changes. Hopefully, the way the world's going, hopefully we can realize that it's an important area and we can do better and educate our kids better and make changes, as adults, help people make those changes. But yeah, man, it's been really good talking to you tonight. I appreciate your time. I know you have a lot of stuff going on. I'll let you get back to it. And
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for having me. It's been
definitely.
a blast. I feel like you actually kind of lifted a weight off my shoulders. It was good to kind of let off some steam.
Well, I'm glad I could. Glad I could do it. For people out there who want to follow you on social media, follow what you're doing, where can they do that?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. The number 6IX and then Fins FINS. And then I actually just purchased my first camera today. So we are going to be starting on a YouTube channel soon. But yeah, I mean, mainly Instagram is my main account. So feel free to DM me any questions you have, or I just appreciate all the support.